started so innocently, a morning like any other, until he noticed something strange, something small, but out of place. A folded piece of paper resting quietly inside a book he hadn't touched in years. His hands trembled as he opened it. The handwriting, it was his. But the message wasn't something he remembered writing.
"They're watching you." The words were clear, written in his own familiar script, but their meaning, ominous, disturbing. He brushed it off, told himself it was nothing, just a forgotten scrap, an old note from another time. But deep down, something gnawed at him, a quiet unease, like the air had grown heavier without him noticing. The next day, he found another one, this time in the kitchen, stuck to the refrigerator door. The same handwriting, his handwriting. "You're not alone." The feeling of unease began to spread. His thoughts were frantic, searching for a rational explanation. Was someone playing a cruel joke? But how would they have known about the first note? One else had been in the house. The door had been locked all night. He scanned the kitchen, every corner, every shadow, nothing. But the words on the note lingered, pressing into his mind like a splinter he couldn't remove. The third note appeared in the bathroom, stuck to the mirror. By then, it was no longer a coincidence. His reflection stared back at him as he read the words again, his pulse quickening. "Trust no one." The message was clearer now, more direct. Paranoia started to set in. Who could be doing this? How could they be slipping these notes into his house, into places where only he could find them? His mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. And the feeling that he was being watched, it grew stronger, creeping up his spine like a cold finger. Every day after that, more notes appeared, each one more unsettling than the last. Inside his jacket pocket, tucked between the plates in the cupboard, even slipped under his pillow while he slept. The notes were everywhere, always written in his own hand. "Leave before it's too late." The message repeated in different ways, a warning, a threat. He tried to dismiss it, to convince himself it was all some elaborate prank. But with each note, the walls felt like they were closing in. He stopped leaving the house, stopped trusting anyone. Every shadow in every corner felt alive, watching. The nights grew longer. Sleep eluded him as his mind replayed the messages over and over. He could no longer rest. Every creak, every sound in the house felt amplified, sinister. Something or someone was always there, just out of sight, watching. He stopped checking his phone, stopped answering the door. He was trapped inside his own home by his own fears. His mind spiraled, and the fear that had once been manageable now consumed him entirely. Then came the final note. He found it hidden under the desk drawer, taped where only he would think to look. The message was simple, but this time it struck a deeper chord. "Look behind you." His breath hitched. Slowly he turned his head, but nothing was there. Only the quiet, empty room, and yet the atmosphere had shifted. The space felt different, like reality itself had warped around him. He stood frozen, his mind unraveling. The truth was finally revealing itself. The truth wasn't in the notes. It had been inside him all along. He had left the notes. He had been watching himself, following himself. The paranoia, the fear, it wasn't coming from outside, it was inside him. Growing like a parasite, feeding off his every thought. The walls of his mind had been closing in from the start, and now there was no escape. The house was quiet, but his mind was not. The final whisper echoed in the emptiness. "It's all in your head," and in that moment he knew. There was no one to trust, not even himself.